Hey everybody, I am doing a recap, and this is one of the first ones that I've done of this before, but I just broke 2000 rapid for the first time, so very momentous occasion for me after about 5 years of playing pretty consistently. After maybe like 3,200 rapid games, finally broke through this barrier, and kind of a little spoiler alert, it got pretty explosive with some bright blue moves, which is you always like to see. And this was just overall a very comfortable game for me, very quick game. I think I kind of got a little bit lucky with the opening in that my opponent mishandled it really early on and kind of gave me an opportunity right out of the opening to seize a decisive advantage. So let's get into it. So I'm an e4 player. I love playing knight c3. If I go to my explorer page, I'm predominantly just a knight c3 player. I like to play the Vienna Gambit. So most of my games are in knight c3 and have a pretty good results. With the different lines of the Vienna and the Vienna Gambit. So, shout out to Levi Rosman for teaching me that when I picked up chess and his Vienna Gambit videos. So, just going to evangelize on that a little bit. But knight c3, and then this move c6, and I was actually really happy when I saw this because while this, the engine does not give, it's not like a flat out bad move necessarily. The engine just says it's an inaccuracy because I think it's sort of a case of maybe mixing ideas from different openings. And here it's not really super great because, okay, black is maybe preparing to play d5 like you would do in a Caro-Kann or other openings where you're playing c6 followed by d5. But here white is, we're the first to claim the center with d4. And I'm pretty familiar with the engine evaluation and the engine lines. I know that taking on d4 is not good in this position because we can just take back with our queen, and black, having played c6, does not have that square for the knight, cannot kick away the queen. You see this in many, many lines where a pawn is committed to a square that the knight would prefer to occupy, and the queen now sits uncontested in the center. I've had games where black kind of gets desperate and maybe pushes c5, and that gives further control of the d5 square. So, kind of a case of the the medicine turning into poison there. So knight f6 was played, and if you're familiar with these sort of positions where a knight has been committed, but there's no pawn to protect the squares in front of the knight, you know that pushing your own pawn forward to attack is always one of the best ways to go. The knight cannot go forward, it has to go backward. So at this point, I'm feeling very comfortable. I have a lead in development, I have dominance over the center, so I'm feeling very good. I have a pretty good time advantage, but as always, whenever I know that I have a decisive lead, I'm always trying to think of ways where I could potentially throw, and I'm just thinking, okay, don't throw this lead, don't throw this lead, just stay calm. So I'm bringing out my bishop. I just kind of want to tighten the screws on d6 if ever in the case of, black pushing, maybe I'm taking up a passant, and I want to sort of over defend my control of the d6 square, if that makes sense. I also just want to kind of prepare to castle queenside and just have a comfortable lead in development. Knight e7 was played. The idea here is pretty clear, either to go to g6 or to f5, but I'm saying, okay, that's great. Go ahead and move your only developed piece again. That that sort of trope comes up a lot where you're saying, okay, if you want to move your one piece more than once and and can further stifle your development, please be my guest. So I know that knight f5 is coming, and indeed my opponent did play that, but that is just sort of further adding to black's problems because now the queen prefers to be here. The queen wants to be on the e file. It's not really clear whether the knight can stay here, so my opponent is defending it. I'm already having ideas of at the right time playing g4. I decided not to play it in this moment. I was thinking of preparing g4 by playing h4, which indeed is what the engine is recommending. Also ideas to play h5. So I decided just to keep developing. So just let's bring out the bishop and just kind of pass the ball back to black and say, okay, your turn to figure out how to get out of this really difficult position you're in. So I have all of the development. Black only has one piece developed. The king is still in the center, and I'm going to try to keep it that way. So bishop g7, very natural move. Black desperately wants to castle here, so if I kind of just do a throwaway move, I still have a pretty decisive lead, but it's allowing black to castle, and it's still not easy for black to solve all of their problems, but I kind of want to strike while the iron is hot in this position, and I want to kind of make black scared of castling further. So for that reason, I decided to first kind of gain a tempo by attacking the knight, kind of asking it, where do you want to go? Do you want to go to h4? Maybe you're going to get stuck there. The knight is not really going to be exerting a lot of influence. So rightfully, the knight is retreating, and um, at this point, here actually the engine does like knight h3 a lot. It makes a lot of sense. Knight h3, castles. You can play knight g5. You know, There's probably lots of ideas of just taking here and having this rook be stuck. Um, d5 is always going to be hard because of takes en passant. We have dominance over f6. This is just a crushing position, but I kind of wanted to just win right away. So I played e6, which I think is also a fine move. And just asking black, hey, can you just keep your king in the center for a little bit longer? I really don't want you to castle right away. I want you to solve your problems. And I was just sort of thinking of lines of like, okay, f takes e6. Here it really likes bishop e5. I was just thinking of even maybe just taking. I don't know if that's necessarily the right way to go. It is an inaccuracy, but um, hey, at least the king is in the center. Visually, this looks really good. Um, and it's really tough for black to kind of figure out how to unravel. Here, it looks like knight a6 is offered, probably with the idea of maybe going back to c7 to get this bishop out of here. But just visually dominant position. So black did not do that. I think they instead played d5, which is the right move, and I'm now taking on f7. Black is taking back on f7, and now there's a pin on this pawn, so I'm not even really being both ways actually down the e file and along the diagonal of the light squared bishop. So I don't have to move either of these pieces really. But I figure, I've had situations in the past where this construction, it's not necessarily flimsy right now, but I don't necessarily like kind of composing a tower of cards only to have it crash down in your face. So I'm saying, okay, I'll move my queen out of danger. It's never going to be in danger of, me blundering and accidentally having pawn takes e4 at the wrong moment. And I'm aligning my queen with the king. This just visually looks very good. Potential threat of, well, bishop c7 is not really a threat because if the knight moves, it can always be met with queen f6. But here definitely it is a threat because the queen, cannot go to f6, so threatening queen c7. And I'm again asking black, hey, are you going to move back in the center? This, king g8 definitely um, would not be a good idea either because I'm pretty much just begging to sack my knight and my rook on d5, have the bishop take with check, and just say, hey, you know what? I probably have some kind of checkmating attack here. So black does indeed go back to g8. They do not want to suffer the pin, or rather the king being in line with the queen on f8. I think king e8, funny enough, is the best move. Just the king has to stay in the center, um, but at least it's off of the diagonal. It's off of the file that the queen is on. I would, in this position, I'd probably just play something like knight h3, knight g5, and just, rook e1. Like the development is just ridiculously easy for white. It's pretty much lost for black at this point. And I was feeling pretty good, but I knew that, you still have to stay sharp because it's not too late to throw away the advantage. So after king g8, I know now is the time to sack. Now is the time to sack on d5 because if you're taking twice on d5 with the knight and the rook, the bishop is going to be there. The queen will have to give itself away. It's just clearly it's going to be checkmate because the king will be forced out. So we're taking on d5. Pawn takes, rook takes d5. It's kind of nice to get those two brilliant moves back to back. I mean, it is sort of like the most forcing continuation, right? Because um, you know, knight takes, bishop takes. The queen has to give itself away. It's force mate, but the black is saying, I don't, I want to save my material. I'll suffer mate, but never give away the queen. And here we do double check. The king is further forced out into the center of the board where we can deliver checkmate on f7, ending the game. Um, I think a another version of me in the past would have been saying, "Oh, I can, play bishop c7 and win the queen, and I'm gonna be crushing." But this almost gives away the entirety of the advantage because, queen f6, and now it's black with some counterplay. You're obviously still winning. I see that queen a3 is given, followed by king e8, and then knight f3. And I can't believe that the advantage is almost all the way gone. Knight c6, and I don't know. I would probably just knee-jerk play rook e1 here, but rook e1 is okay. King to d7. This is crazy. Black still, they kind of have, black has like enough pieces around the king to like, to be okay. And they are actually up a piece because we did sack on d5, and this would be really sad. I mean, I feel like I could still swindle black in this position. You still have an advantage, but this would be really sad to accidentally give away mate. So for that reason, we're doing double check, put the king in the center, and then queen f7. Feels really good. First time breaking 2000 rapid. Um, Definitely playing this game in honor of Daniel Naroditsky, who I consider to be sort of my coach from afar, as I'm sure many of you also feel the same way who watched his speedrun videos. So as I was playing, I was kind of channeling his voice in my head, just hearing all of his sayings, kind of guiding my hand, as it were, to play the most decisive moves. And I think I think an idea that I learned very strongly from him was this idea of sort of striking while the iron is hot, which is a saying that I recall him saying very often, and that kind of comes to life almost in the entirety of this game with moves like d4. Not sort of, if you're unfamiliar with these kind of positions, it's just sort of easy to just play natural things, knight of six, um, or sorry, knight of three, allowing, you don't want to allow black to kind of get what they want here. You have to strike as the iron is hot, as it were, and that's also coming to life with this move e5, and again with g4 followed by e6. That's the only thing I can really think of in this moment was we don't want to let black off the hook here. In castle, obviously it's still winning, but I want to play these tempo moves. I want to play e6 and I want to open up the center before black has a chance to recover. And I think that's one of the most difficult things in chess development is knowing when to apply that idea of saying, okay, I have one chance to tighten the screws. I have one chance to attack before my opponent has a chance to consolidate. So it's that preventing of consolidation. So it's very difficult to identify when that applies here because here, every move is really good. I mean, you could probably play, knight h3 is fine. You still have an advantage. You could probably even play like a3 here and not give the advantage away. You could play knight e2. Um, it's the engine says it's a mistake, but you're still up plus 2.3. So, um, that idea doesn't necessarily is not mandated in this moment, but it's definitely something that was on my mind of like we need to just let's just keep taking the initiative and using um, using the vast lead in development that we have while the king is in the center to push for a checkmating attack. And with that, I guess I'll stop rambling. I hope you enjoyed and hope you have a great rest of your day.